blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Today, I'm honored to share space with Deirdre Davis. Deirdre is someone whose story reflects resilience, wisdom, and lived experience. And in this conversation, we'll explore her journey, the lessons she's gathered along the way, and the insights she's gained through it all. This is an invitation to listen with an open heart and reflect and take what resonates with you for your own path. Let's get into this moment with Deirdre Davis. Deirdre, welcome. For listeners who may be new to your work, and I'm not, I used to hit her up every other week for some candles. Please let everybody know who you are and what led to the creation of Incense and Things.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Finally get this this project between the two of us underway. We had some weather inclementations that kind of threw interference, but everything is divine timing. I thank you for inviting me to your show and giving me the time, energy, and space to share. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. All the support over the years, the likes, the candle purchases, it all. I appreciate it. You really, from the very beginning of me launching my business, Incense and Things, you've been there. And I don't know if you even know that, but to start off, like you asked, what inspired me to create my business was I have a background in mental health, personally for myself and some struggles that I've had, and also professionally as a majority of my adult life, I worked with the mental health population, that being children and adults with severe and persistent mental illnesses. So during my own progression on my journey, after being diagnosed with several mental health disorders and physical disorders, the diabetes, the high blood sugar, the cholesterol, the common diagnoses that go through the Black and brown communities, that somebody is affected by that. I started studying deeper into diagnoses, my own, because I wanted to understand me better.
Mm-hmm.
And so during my journey, it was like all of a sudden, I don't believe in coincidences. Things are supposed to be. But rapidly, as I started studying myself, the universe started unwrapping other opportunities for me to work with people who had other mental health diagnoses. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up working at a day program for children who had mental health diagnoses. And when I first started, I thought it was just a daycare, and so I was sadly mistaken. And I had never really been exposed to children who were exhibiting those type of behaviors myself, because my parents kept me in a bubble growing up. I was what you call green. I had to learn the hard way because I didn't know a lot of things to say. But my life lessons, I get emotional, I'm sorry if I start crying during my story, my testimony, because it's so personal. Long story short, I ended up working with kids for years that had dual diagnoses, mental health diagnoses. And then I started working with adults. The kids got to be too much. I had my own kids and I was struggling with my own diagnoses, and then working with kids with diagnoses. I was like, it's just too much.
It's a lot.
I went to see a psychiatrist at that time. I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but this is not working. And that psychiatrist informed me that I was highly sensitive to energy and other people energies. She explained what an empath was to me. And that just even deepened my study into diagnoses and what do they really mean, and looking for spiritual reasons, because I always knew, my daddy told me as a little girl, he was a preacher. He's always told me that I was a spirit being first before I was a human.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime anything was going on, ask spirit first to be revealed what it is. So one of the last jobs I had was a housing manager job for an apartment complex for people who had severe schizophrenia. Prior to that, I worked on an ACT team, which is an acute treatment team for people who go in and out of the hospital because of mental health crises. So my job was always to stabilize, try to help them stabilize with the team. And I worked as a housing coordinator in that aspect. So,
And you know what? To cut you off for just a second, but you telling your story, it reminds me of my story and so many other stories of people that have these gifts and that are empaths. We all find ourselves in some type of human service position or job or something like that. So I just had to acknowledge that, how here it is, one more of my girlfriends that's special with that Black girl magic and doing that human service work.
yes, ma'am. That's part of our melanated contribution, our gifts, and also our life experiences. I always worked in a capacity where if you was to judge the book by its cover, I would have been considered the lowest on the totem pole as far as education.
Mm-hmm.
I have a GED. I got that good enough diploma. And it wasn't that I wasn't smart, because I've always been in academically gifted classes. It's just that my daddy said I chose to major in boys in high school and not books. And I had a child young. So that brought on its own lessons and its own set of responsibilities at an early age. And me having to rely a lot on my intuition and my connection to God during that whole situation. So all through these years, it's been a character development. I consider it the up, the downs, the lows, even the loss of my son a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That lesson, that taught me something about myself that I didn't even know. I've always been one of those parents that felt like if something happened to one of my kids, they just might as well put me in there with them because I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was because of my journey and the knowledge and the strength and the Reiki and all the things that I've been studying, the shamanism, all the things that I've been studying over the years, that has helped me have a better understanding during this journey.
Yes.
So, but I started my business because I love working in the mental health aspect. But once they saw that I was helping the people, they decided they didn't need me any longer. Mm-hmm. I was learning meditation and yoga and learning the different values and benefits of drinking herbal teas. And I was taking it back to the people in the apartment complex who they wanted me to provide activities for. But when those activities include an enlightenment and growth, and we're in there doing yoga and meditating and talking about the chakras, and everybody's behaviors are stabilizing, and everyone is getting better.
It was a problem.
After almost 10 years, it was a problem, and oops, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
But
because
what I did,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to cut you off, but we very, very much work and deal with the society that would rather keep us sick.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want us to use all of the things that our ancestors used, our teas, our tinctures, all of that kind of stuff. They don't want to do that because guess what? If we figure out how to go and grow our herbs and our plants and stuff in our backyard like our ancestors did and heal ourselves with it, then they're going to start losing money. So that's the reason why they no longer live. She's like, wait a minute. I just wanted her to keep them busy. I didn't want her to like completely turn their situation around for something better. This ain't it. We can't have this.
They couldn't go back to any write-ups, any disciplinary actions. The 10 people that I supported that lived in that housing development, they went all out to write letters because it wasn't me. It was a spirit being used in me to really help those people. And like you said, yeah, they didn't like that. That was cutting into their finances.
Yeah.
So that did become a problem. But shortly before that, 2 weeks before that, this is how powerful the mind is, though, because 2 weeks before that, I thought everything was going very well.
Mm-hmm.
One of the final projects we worked on was a vision board. And in that vision board, I sat down and did my own first vision board with the residents that was there. We worked together on those. And I explained to them how you interact with this vision board and you keep this vision board in your site every day. And we hung it up in that space. So every day when they would come in and we would do our activities, they had to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to see mine too.
Planting
So 2 weeks later, I'm thinking that they're coming in to give me a promotion because everybody doing good and everything, and I'm getting ready to get a raise. And she sit down and she tell me that this is my last 2 weeks there. They no longer need my services.
Wow.
I had 2 weeks. My vision board is on the wall, Myra. Sister Myra. It's on the wall, and on that it says start business.
Mm-hmm. It was going to make you be obedient because, see, if that never happened, Deirdre, you would have never stepped outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly, because that job was so easy. It was just like a second home. It was just so I was so comfortable in that role.
Yeah.
And that's I often remind myself I have a meme and it says I had to make you uncomfortable or else you wouldn't have grown. Sign the universe.
Yes, honey. And look, and won't she do it?
Let me tell you. And not only when it happened, I was anxious for about 15 minutes, no lie. And then I looked up at that wall and I was like, trust. This is my first time. I'm getting ready to trust the universe. I'm getting ready to challenge it. I'm getting ready to see if everything I've been reading and everything I've been studying and all this yoga and all this meditation and all this praying and self-work gonna pay off. And when I say, sister, it was around COVID and my business catapulted. It didn't start, it catapulted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it was almost scary.
Yeah.
So it started with the 3 things that my whole life, even as a little girl, I enjoyed the most, that brought me the most calm, peace, and joy. And that was candles, incense, and body oils.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be like a little 10-year-old Erica Badu at the flea market with my mom, always wanting to go towards the ladies that were selling the incense and the oils and stay over there and smell everything. And that was I didn't go get my hair done. I didn't want my nails done. I didn't care about new clothes. That was my reward for, whatever my mom needed me to do around the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did lose my job And I'm sitting around thinking how much money I'm still spending on these things for myself. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on for a second. Let me see how much some bulk of this will start a cost. Since I'm already doing it, I'm already sharing it, I'm already living this lifestyle. Let me just see how much bulk costs. So I took the little check that I got from them from no longer working from them, and that's what I use to create incense and things.
Well, and you know what? Hearing your story, it makes perfect sense to me because I remember the first time I had got some money candles. And so when I got your candles, I used them for myself, but I also used them along with my clients. And it was just a difference. And when I tell you that the abundance, honey, was flowing, and then at the first of the month when I did my cinnamon on top of my candles, it was on and popping. Like you said, bills and stuff was like paid that at the moment I was like, how is this gonna get done? Just everything I didn't want for nothing. But if you looked at my bank account, you'd be like, how's she doing all of this? But it was getting done. But I know now that it's because of all the love and attention and intention that you put into everything you make. Because, honey, when I tell you, I was ordering them candles like I was an addict. And I know that mailman was like, well, dang, here she go again. Like, here you go. Like, here's something else from Gastonia. Here you go. But I believe in it. And like you, I've always loved incense. Always. My mom always had them. I always loved incense. And I remember I was like, I wonder if I can make incense, because like you said, you buying incense and stuff from everybody else. I'm telling my clients, well, you need to get you some incense. Well, where can I buy them from? Do you have some? Well, no, I don't have none. And then finally Spirit was like, dummy, you better learn how to make some. Like, what you doing? We want everybody to be fruitful in their business and stuff, but you have the opportunity to be fruitful in your business too. So you better step outside your comfort zone and make it do what it do. And that's exactly what I did. And look at where we are now. It hasn't been easy.
And let me tell you why those candles work so well. Now, this is a secret, okay? This is only for me, you, and your audience who tune in for this, okay? True story. So I often tell people it was right after my Kundalini awakening. That was like the full activation portal. I'm tapped in. It was like, so one day I went to sleep. I was semi one way, but I woke up a whole nother different person. I knew so much stuff that I didn't know that was inside of me. And so one day I was sitting at the kitchen table and I was trying to figure out how to make some ends meet with this new business. Because the first 30 days, I made $60 in 30 days off my business with no other additional income. So I'm like, okay, these incense and stuff ain't, I got to get something going. So I got to come up with something new. And I'm just sitting there thinking. And when I tell you, my great-great-grandma, somebody, one of my ancestors said, child, go look into the kitchen cabinet and see what you got.
Like they
and I saw them herbs. I saw that sage that we pour in our food during Thanksgiving. And that cinnamon we put on our cinnamon toast crunch. And then and I looked at them candles. I was like, what is you telling me to do? And step-by-step instruction was downloaded into me. So when I tell you some deep love and ancestral work, them recipes come out of me through my ancestors. I just got through making a large batch of those money candles because people subscribe to them religiously.
And I believe it. And I know firsthand, and before we end our conversation, we will definitely put the information out there for you guys on how you can tap in, because I'm not saying this just because she's my friend and my sister, but I'm telling you guys this because I use her stuff as well religiously. And even though I can make my own candles, and and I could do my own incense and stuff now, but it was something about the love that I felt when I'm
Yeah.
using those candles. It was something about the love that my clients felt when I was using those candles with them. It was just different. So guys, I really, really want you to tap into that, because she is the truth. She really, really is the truth. Now, what was the moment when you realized that this was more than a business? It was more of a calling for you? Because literally, the way that everything came to you, as far as your ingredients and stuff, like we was just talking about from the ancestors, honey, that's a straight calling. So when did you realize that that's what it was, instead of just, just a business, just candles and a business? It was a true calling.
When it started sustaining me, I always knew that I was, I hate saying it because it sounds braggadocious or kind of cocky to the unhealed ear. But as a
Mhm.
child, Spirit already told me that I was chosen.
Mhm.
So Spirit has been working with me along the way. That's why I was able to stay in, I think, those mental health capacities as long as I did working,
Mhm.
um, because those were part of my assignments. So it was whenever I lost my job, I went out and I trusted faith
Yep.
on my business, and it has been sustaining me ever since. And I always tell people, because most of my people come back,
Mhm.
they repeat, come back. But I always tell my people, it's not even always about the products, it's not about the teas, it's not about the candles, it's about the shared energy.
Yes.
It's about the safe space. It's
Yes.
about the love and light that's inside of me that I want to share with the world. And those tools are just avenues for me to reach those people.
Yes.
Because I want everything that I do, it's not just something physical that you can light a candle and burn. I want you to feel the energy and the love that I pour into it and the intention. I want you to feel the manifestations flow into your life. So, like you say, everything I do, I set an intention of love and light and high frequency energy to it, because that's what we need.
That's right.
It's not anyone in the world that don't need it. I don't care how well off someone can always use more love and
That's
more
right.
light and more encouragement.
And especially in these times that we're in now, you know, it could be so easy if people would just get out of their own way and just practice love. We don't have to agree on everything, but I still love you. You know what
That's
I mean? And that's real, but people refuse to get out of their own way. And then for people like us that know and believe in that higher power, it's easy for them to say we crazy, or we're full of it, or we witches, or we're this, or we're that, you know. But how are we being crazy when we are believing and practicing in the same thing that our ancestors did? They didn't have all the tools and stuff that we have now. They had to go and make stuff happen. They had to go out there and pluck the leaves and test out the trees, and the different things.
why they had to go gather the sage. They had to plant the seed, grow it, go gather it, they dry it, process it, and those are acts of love.
Yep,
When you work with nature and harvest and stuff like that, hardly any of us are outdoors doing that anymore.
that's right.
Um, Society has taken us so far away from nature and being able to devote time and energy to being out in creation and being authentic creators our own selves,
Yep,
because of they socio-economics and all this other stuff that don't have anything to do with us as being spirit beings.
yes, yes. And if we were to view each other from the viewpoint of our spirit and not our physical body, honey, things would be so much better. So much
It,
better. We wouldn't be in the chaos that we're in now.
We wouldn't. We wouldn't. And recently, I'm pretty sure everybody saw the monks walk from Texas to Washington. And I thought that that was an absolutely amazing expression of peace.
Yes.
No matter what religion you believe in, whether or if you don't but have no religion at all.
Yes.
Any it it was a unified attempt to bring everyone together. It doesn't matter whether you black, white, Asian, whatever it is, all differences. It doesn't. You saw them get blasted on numerous times if you paid attention from Christians or other religious believers who had different opinions to what their mission might have been. But at no time did they demonstrate aggravation, frustration. As long as they walked, you couldn't tell none of them was in pain, none of them was hurting, some of them was sick, some of them feet was bleeding. I'm pretty sure some of them had tummy aches. I mean, but in spite of all circumstances, they demonstrated peace.
And you know what's so funny about the ones that had something to say that was like of other religious beliefs and that kind of thing? I'm not trying to be funny, but I don't see you out here trying to do anything for peace. So, and they always say, practice what you preach. So how can you hate on somebody else that's practicing what they preach and doing a good job and unifying everybody? And that's what it all boils down to, in my opinion. I feel like they don't want us to be unified. You know, they don't want us to be one with each other. Because if we were one with each other, then imagine what a beautiful world this would be.
Could you imagine the frequency of the earth? Could you imagine the enlightenment and the love that would be felt if people would just allow themselves, just for a minute, to break free from most of the doctrination that has turned us against each other anyway?
Yes, that part. Because I always use an example of kids. When you see little kids playing with each other, they're just playing with each other. They don't recognize black or white. They might say, oh, my friend's a different color or whatever, but it's not a big deal to them. It's only until their family member, parents, grandparents, or whomever change them and tells them that, oh, no, you can't play with them because they're this, or you can't play with that, or you can't date this person because they're that. People put that into them. But if you just let children be and figure it out on their own, because that's what my parents did. Now, I can be prejudiced. If you treat me a certain way or act a certain way to me, then I can be that way back to you, because I'm not going to be stupid. You know, you're not going to talk to me or treat me any kind of way. But as a general rule, I really don't see color. And I know people are like, yeah, how that's impossible, whatever. But when you're raised and that's not an issue, of course, being raised in the 70s, I had to know about being black.
Right. Yes, ma'am. I definitely can understand. When I was in kindergarten, my daddy was a pastor, so he felt it'd be best for me to get a Christian education. So he sent me to a private school in which they proceeded to call me the N-word all day, every day. I was the only, it was 2 black people in that school, me and this other girl who our parents was friends, and that's how we both end up at the same private school together. But we were in kindergarten. The school went from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Wow.
So we were probably 2 of 250 straight white. It wasn't no Hispanic. It wasn't no other mixture. I felt like a social experiment and ended up living it out pretty much like I was. So honestly, the first couple of years of my life, I struggled with race relations because of that. As I grew older and began to work, like I said, in the mental health capacity, all while undergoing my own mental health struggles, I
Mhm.
start seeing people as souls and spirits other than human beings or diagnoses or just behaviors.
Yeah.
I was able to, during one of my darkest moments, um, I remember saying, God, you either got to show me purpose or I don't want to be here anymore, because life was just too heavy. Me
Mhm.
being an empath, unknowing, I was absorbing all of these people's feelings and illnesses and all kind of stuff. I couldn't take it. But when I cried that prayer and I said, show me my purpose, something inside of me was activated, you know, and ever since then, I've been full-fledged on my mission. Because I
And
know.
it's in those moments, Deirdre, like you said, it's in those moments where sometimes we feel like we're hitting rock bottom. And it's almost like everything has to be taken away to get our attention, to be able to truly be obedient and live in the journey that we were in. We were born into it. And I know for me, because I've always been a big girl, I was like, I'm already a big girl. I'm a Black big girl. I don't want nothing else that's going to make me different. I don't want to, let people know that I have the ability to do this or I have the ability to do that. But then when I experienced a cancer scare, and after I made it through that and made it through on the other side and I was cancer free, I didn't have any cancer or anything. It was as if the bandage was ripped off my third eye, and honey, it was like shining bright like a diamond. So
Mhm.
I definitely understand what you're talking about. Now, along those lines, because I know that you do Reiki and energy healing, for listeners unfamiliar with Reiki, how do you explain what it is in simple terms?
In simple terms, Reiki is the use of your life force energy. We all have a life force energy inside of us. It's what gives us our life force. It's connected us through breath, through the grounding of our feet to the earth. It creates our whole energetic body system, what we consider our nervous system, all these different systems that help regulate the body. So Reiki targets in on the energy that's inside the body. um, how I had my first encounter with Reiki was I had dated a guy for 14, 15 years.
Mhm.
And he, coincidentally being a narcissist, he did what is called a discard. He discarded me. And in that discard, it just broke my heart. It just did something to me internally. And at the same time that happened, at work, I went out on a sciatic nerve injury. And I couldn't walk. I woke up one day and just couldn't walk. And I'm like, God, like, how do I get dumped by this guy who I love so much and end up in the bed and can't move? He's supposed to be here to take care of me in this situation. I had this big pity party for myself while I was down. And I ended up having to go get a spinal injection to try to help with the sciatica. That didn't seem to work. I went to physical therapy, and that would only work temporarily before I'd have to go back through the whole process again, going to get injections in my spine, then going to physical therapy, but nothing seemed to work. So one of our dear friends, Asha Sims, I know you know Asha.
Yes.
That's my sister. I love Asha, and I cry every time I get around Asha because I really feel Asha contributed to saving my life, because she is the one that helped me see how, again, things can be going on with us spiritually
Yeah.
and manifest in our body physically.
Yeah.
So me holding on to that heartache and that trauma bond that I had to the guy who hurt me around that time, who broke up with me and discarded me around that time, um, and me having to depend a lot on, oh, did I mention I had just bought a house, so being out of work for weeks on end, not knowing how I was gonna pay that. So all of that kind of created the perfect storm.
Yes.
It was God taking me off of my feet and sitting me down so I would pay attention to everything that he needed to put inside of me to prepare me for what was next when I was able to get back up and go to work. Because as soon as I did that and I got back to work, boom, they let me go again. So he was already preparing me, showing me, even doing then, trust me. Just trust.
That's right.
Just trust. And so again, that really activated my powers. That's when I started seeking divination and not being able to walk. I live in a split level, so I have an upstairs and a downstairs. So either way, I got to go upstairs or downstairs. My room is downstairs. I couldn't walk up my steps to come to the kitchen. A lot of times I would have to get help from my kids or my mother, who was then living, to the restroom because I couldn't walk. That's how bad that injury was. So, but once Asha got with me, I made her, and I remember it was taking a lot for me to even get on the yoga mat to do the trauma-informed yoga that I needed to take to restart the process of releasing.
Mm-hmm.
Me and her telling me, you need to come and talk to me about some Reiki. We need to do some Reiki on you. And that correlation of that heartbreak and how my back was out all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did the first Reiki session, it was over.
Yes.
Once I released those blockages, that pain was gone. And knock on wood, it's been 8 years since I've had any type of sciatic pain, injury, problems with my back or anything. And I credit the Reiki, because Reiki get to the core. It gets to the root of the ailment and the pain, physical or mental, that's there.
Mm-hmm.
It also allowed me to release all of the bipolar, and learn how to transmute those energies.
Yes.
Not to take them on.
Yes.
To observe, not absorb.
And to show you how powerful you are. You know, it's so easy when you have different diagnoses as those things, for you to feel like you don't have any power, because they're like, take this medication, take that. They never say go outside and sit in the sun. They never.
And I was experimenting on with many medications. Believe me, I've been on Xanax, Clonopins, Lexapro. They had me on stuff for schizophrenia at one time, and it had gotten so bad, I was blacking out in the middle of the night, just passing out over and over again. My children kept finding me unconscious because the prescriptions were so powerful. They was just shutting me down. They was just causing me to black out. It was many a times I was rushed to the hospital. They couldn't get a pulse. When I was up and somewhat alert, all I could do was sit in the chair and my leg would bounce. I was developing tardive dyskinesia, having all kind of tics from the medication. I was flat. I didn't have any personality. Like
it's hard for me to believe. That is hard for me to believe.
When I tell you it was that bad, my mom used to cry. She called my psychiatrist and told my psychiatrist, I need you to get my daughter off of this medication because it's killing her. She's a zombie. The psychiatrist told my mother that if I take your daughter off of the medication, she'll still be bipolar. And my mom was like, yeah, but she'll be alive.
Exactly.
Because at that rate, I wasn't going to live much longer. I was already dying, not being able to be myself.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just sitting there, my kids looking at me. I can't help them. So in the midst of that, And my comeback from that, coincidentally, I can't say coincidentally because I don't believe in coincidence, but at the time I thought it was a coincidence that I ended up on the same ACT team helping treat the severely schizophrenic people that the doctor that prescribed me all the medications that sedated me was working on.
See?
She seen me in an unhealed version, and after I came off of her medicine in the healed version, and she couldn't even believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say I stand before you today, I know I haven't had any type of medication in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
For blood pressure, blood sugar, depression, anxiety, whatever list that they had. And they had me on 20 different medications a day. I was almost 300 pounds.
Wow.
Because I couldn't,
Didn't do anything.
I couldn't do anything but eat and go to sleep and be stuck.
But you know what? I think that that's the reason why you make such a good Reiki practitioner, because you understand and you've experienced it. Now, I've been on the fence about taking a class or whatever because I love receiving Reiki. It is the most beautiful and powerful thing that I have ever done. It's amazing how my ancestors, show up during the sessions. I have this one god aunt that is really, really good friends with my mom. And my very first session, she showed up. Well, what was funny about my Aunt Cora is she was diagnosed with cancer, but even as the cancer spread and she was out of it, she was still laying hands on herself, still speaking healing over her body, and still, believing in the transmutation of energy and all of that stuff. And so for my first Reiki time that I had it done, my friend that was doing it, she said, "Do you know who this lady is?" And she described her. And she said, because she looking at me like, "You better know what you're doing." And I said, "That's my Aunt Cora." And I was like, of all people to show up, I knew that she would show up because, first of all, she didn't play about me. That's number one. And number two, she knew the power of laying hands. She didn't call it Reiki. She said she was laying hands, but it was the same thing. And guys, if you've never had a session, you don't necessarily have to be sick or, down in any way, but find somebody locally in your area and try it out, because it really, really is a life-changing thing. I can't really put into words how it affects you, but it's just a beautiful experience. And I think that everybody should try it at least, one time, at least one time. Now, I know we were talking about earlier about the incense. A lot of people may not realize it, because I know when I share this with my clients about how incense can clear energies and, do all kinds of things. What else can you use incense for, not just for something to smell good, but more as a spiritual or self-care practice?
I mean, to me, aromatherapy, especially with incense or burning oils, is one of the fastest and most active therapeutic tools there is to change someone's mood because of smell. The smell of lavender instantly just makes you want to just go somewhere and relax and take a nap. The incense from something like cinnamon smells clean and refreshing and can be used to call in even abundance and protection because of the association with the cinnamon and the protective measures and the benefits of the herbs.
Well, thank you so much for even saying that part. And I didn't mean to cut you off, because when I tell my clients when they're feeling heavy, the energies and stuff, and I say, burn some incense. And I can look at them like, I'm going to get some sage. Everybody always wants to rush to go out and get some sage. And I said, honey, if you got some incense, burn those, because they do the exact same thing. So see, y'all, I wasn't just talking just to be talking. Here is my backup to the reason why I tell you guys, use that incense as well to clear those energies and help you to feel better.
That's right. And when I tell people too, we don't have to overthink the tools that we have. We can use my whole story behind me telling you the ancestors told me to go look in my cabinets to see
Mm-hmm.
what I got is because I used what I had in my cabinets to create my first set of candles. And those candles have been my biggest one of my biggest products that people buy over and over again because I use what I had. So we don't have to run out and buy a whole bunch of different stuff if we don't have to. You can go in your backyard and gather some wildflowers and sit them out for a day or two in some sun and let them dry. You can create your own sage bundle. You can burn cinnamon sticks. You can set an intention for a white candle for protection. It don't have to be a black candle or it don't have to be you set the intention. Your intention means more than anything. Your your heart's purity and your intention means more than anything. You're the tool. That's what I tell people.
And I think that that is so important for people to realize because so many people now are spiritual. There's so
Mhm.
many spiritualists out here that's asking for all of this money and all of this different stuff or whatever. And I don't knock nobody's gift or whatever, just because they operate in their gift differently than
Mhm.
me. But I tell my clients all the time, they're like, well, that's all I need. Yeah, a glass of water and a candle. Well, what
Mhm.
about, because I was reading and they said I need this, this, and this. And it goes right back to what you said, honey, about use what you have. Because again, that's what our ancestors did. They
They
used
did.
what they could find. They
That's
used
right.
what they could find.
You
Now,
think they was gonna stop midway through a ritual for protection because they didn't have such and such when you can go right across the street and grab that as a substitute and use that to replace that because all these herbs and creations that God gave us have multiple uses.
that's
It
right.
ain't just one herb that's going to heal you from cancer. It'll be a combination of different herbs that can heal you from cancer. You see
Mhm.
what I'm saying? It ain't going to just be one thing to fix this or one thing to fix that. And that's where a lot of people get lazy too. They think that you're going to drink some tea and you're going to magically be this master spiritual being and you're going to have all of this. No, you're not.
Without doing any work.
No, you're going to have to go through a few dark nights of the soul. You're going to have to do lots of shadow work. And then just when you think you've healed, you're going to go right back to the dark night of the soul
I
and
think
have to heal yourself again in order to elevate.
we need to do another episode just about shadow work.
Oh
Because
my goodness.
man, that shadow
Yeah,
work is not for the faint of heart. And people are like,
man.
you always happy and smiling. I'm thinking, but you ain't seen me in the nights when, honey, they talking about take me through there, take me through there.
What? When I heard that song, I said, I'm not ever singing that song because I done been through there. And if you done ever been through there, you don't want nobody, you don't want to sing nothing that's going to have you going back through there. I...
That is a fact.
Oh,
That is a fact. Now, as we're starting to wind down, what has entrepreneurship taught you about rest, boundaries, and alignment? Because for us that work with helping people, it's important for us to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and keeping us grounded. So, what do you do to make sure you're good?
God. Make sure, what I mostly make sure is that in between me doing work, whether it's one on one through video chats or whether it's in the community, service in the community with teas or whatever, I
Mhm.
make sure I take time to clear my space, clear my I'm
Yes.
sorry, my aura to keep my chakras balanced
Yes.
because what I learned through all of this mental health that I went through my own self, when that doctor finally was able to tell me that I was an empath and what I was doing was allowing other people's energies to affect me because I didn't realize how powerful I was. I thought the energy that I was feeling or those behaviors and those thoughts was mine, but they were theirs. That gave me such power. I was able to take my power back because now I know when I go in Walmart and I start feeling all this in my solar plexus and all that ain't even me, that's somebody else over there. They got something going on. So I'm gonna send them love and light and I'm gonna transmute it on back over there to them.
Yes.
Out of love. I
Yeah.
made sure I was out running errands earlier. I keep my clear quartz on whenever I'm out running. So now when I go to Walmart, I done passed out in Walmart. I done had like real bad episodes in Walmart when I was having that spiritual awakening and tapping into all my gifts, and I didn't know what was going on because it was just so overwhelming, all them different energies at one time. You know, you tell a psychiatrist, well, I go into Walmart and I feel like I can read everybody's mind. They were like, okay, well, you need to take this prescription.
You know, it's so
Take this
funny.
one too.
It's so funny that you said that because out of the blue, I started having bad anxiety when I was in the car, just out of the blue. And so I was like, I don't feel like this is mine. Where is it coming from? I mean, because you go your whole life, never had a problem, and just out of the blue. And I mean, it got really, really bad to the point that I was like, I feel like I need to see somebody. So when I was looking for my therapist, I honestly was like looking for somebody that would understand. And so my friend had recommended a therapist that she was seeing. And so when I talked to her, I said, before we get into this, you know, a weekly basis or however often you say that I need to see you, I want to let you know that I'm spiritual and, you know, and that I can see things and I can feel things or whatever. So I wanted her to know that ahead of time because I didn't want you trying to prescribe me some medicine talking about I was crazy or I had this going on or that going on. But thankfully, she was spiritual too. So I was able to be open and free and try to figure out, I said, because I'm really coming to you to see where is this anxiety coming from all of a sudden. And honey, I tell you that was the most rewarding experience that I had ever had. And I came from a place of, you know, Black people, we don't do therapy. You know, I therapist, we don't do that. We're going to pray about it and let it go. But going to see my therapist was the best thing that I could ever have done for myself, for my family, for my clients, everybody. So it's very, very important that you have somebody that's open and that understands and that's not so quick to want to give you a pill, like you said, for this or for that, when you're explaining to them what's really happening.
And that was the difference between psychiatry and therapy. Because my therapist didn't push any of that on me. She allowed me to be true to who I was and express myself and not judge me and empowered me, informed me about how powerful I was as a melanated being. It was the psychiatrist that was quick to write me the prescriptions because she knew I had gifts. And what I'm learning is a lot of these psychiatrists, they know that we be spiritually gifted coming through their offices, and it's their jobs to turn us off.
Yep.
To shut all that spiritual stuff down. And that's why I was stuck.
In the state that you were.
You hear me, sister? And I came off of, the doctor wouldn't take me off of it, so I went to my regular Black male primary caregiver at that time and said, hey, these psych meds is going to kill me. My kids keep finding me passed out. I can't drive. I'm having to go get all kind of tests for heart problems and brain scans and stuff. And I think it's the medicine because I ain't never had these experiences before getting on this medicine. I said, will you wean me off of it? Will you take me off of it? He said, I'm not going to suggest that you come off of it, but I will supervise you because I was knowledgeable from working in the mental health field. He said, I'll supervise you while you can wean yourself off of them. And that allowed me to slowly start coming off of those medicines. And more gradually, I became more and more coherent to who I was before the medicines. And then once I got completely off of all of the medicines, no psych meds, no diabetes, none of those medications anymore, I was able to start really working on healing myself, using the Reiki, using all holistic practices to build me back up, mind, body, soul, even physically. So I give all credit to that and Asha for being the one to even introduce me to a different perspective and possibility of
Yes.
healing, true healing, because that other stuff wasn't healing me. It
And
wasn't even helping me.
when you say true healing, you are so right, because I remember the first time I took yoga with her. And so I got there. And so I was the biggest girl in the class, and all these cute little girls, these cute little outfits and stuff on. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, you want me to do what? But when I tell you, it was the most beautiful experience. And I always tell her it was this one particular pose, and you know how she walks around and kind of pushes you down deeper. And I want to say it's child's pose, if I remember it correctly. And so, first of all, I was just happy that I was down there on the floor the way I was, number one. But when we had gotten to child pose, and you know, we're in it, she came around and she, you know, because she's just so calm and just so, I say, you're just so calm and so smooth with it. You know what I mean? And she put her hands on my back and pushed me down. She said, you got to go deeper. And all of a sudden, I just started crying. Girl, and all that trauma and all that pain that I thought, and I don't want to get emotional talking about it now, but I feel like that I have to be transparent with everybody, because it's a lot of us walking around with all that trauma and pain, and that's saying, oh yeah, I'm good. We're faking it till we make it. But honey, when she pushed me down,
You couldn't
years,
take it no more, could you? I know.
and to this day, I still can't. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing, and I just encourage people to step outside the box and not be worried about what other people think. If you're trying to find a different way of healing, if you're trying to find a different way of fixing yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, you know, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. So now, like, for people who feel drawn to healing work, but they're afraid to step into it, what would you say to them?
Don't be afraid. You hear people talk about shadow work and even dark nights of the soul, and that scares a lot of people. And they're only scared because it does sound scary. But if you continue to talk to someone who has been at those different levels during the spiritual journey, they always tell you that you cannot have a rebirth unless you have a death. And that death is spiritual. It's not necessarily always a physical death. People have spiritual deaths over and over and over again. They just don't know it.
That's right.
They just don't know it. So they have deaths and rebirths. They have tower moments, you know. That's why I like tarot, because tarot shows you the picture to go with the
You're like, oh, all of that makes sense.
it all makes sense. So, but it's all part of your development into becoming your highest, best, most authentic self.
Yes.
It's like that diamond that's underneath that big old lump of coal. First, you got to go to the mine and dig it, chop away all that, you know what I'm saying? Then once you get a piece big enough for you to work with, now you got to put it under some heat and some pressure. That's the only way it's going to form. If you don't put that heat and that pressure on that lump of coal, it's just going to stay a lump of coal.
And get it right. Now, where can listeners connect with you and experience incense and things? No, Tings, Ting, for themselves, because I'm telling y'all, you got to get some candles. If you don't get nothing else, you must get you some candles. So let them know where they can connect with you.
Okay, I'm on Facebook, Deirdre Davis. That is DEIRDRE Davis, DAVIS. I tell people I don't have an actual picture of me, but you'll see a little purple, I don't know what you call it, emoji, a purple meme lady there. That's me. I also have a Facebook business page in my business name as well, Incense in Teens. On that, it is INCENSEANDTINGS. That's the business page on Facebook. I am on Instagram, Incense and Teens on Instagram, and I think I'm also, no, I am the Goddess Lady D, DA Goddess Lady, LADY on TikTok.
Well, thank you so much, Deirdre, for being here with me, having this conversation. Like I said, I want you to come back again so that we can talk a little bit about shadow work, so that people can see that it's not as scary as you think it is, but it's worth it if if that's really your calling, and if that's really your journey, and if you're not playing with it. You know what I mean? So
That's right.
I appreciate
Don't say you want to be on this spiritual journey. Don't say you want to be on this spiritual journey and then don't think that you will not get tested.
Honey, because you will get what you indirectly are asking for.
You will. And that comes with shadow work, and that is okay.
Again, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing space with me. And as we close out, I would like to share an intention for everybody. So as we close, take one slow breath in and gently release it. Allow your body to soften and notice what stayed with you from this moment. Silently affirm, I receive what serves me. I release what no longer belongs. Take a final deep breath in and exhale slowly. Carry this clarity, this calm, and these intentions with you as you move forward. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Have a good evening.